That's a really good question. So let me see if I can repeat the question and get it right. So there's two things you're basically asking. One is, how much content is enough? How many pages do you need to add to the website, right? And the second one is, how do you come up with all these ideas for different pages on your website? Yeah. Thanks. Okay, let's get rid of this lot. So what we're going to be talking about then is content. So the best way I think there is to think about a website in terms of content and why you need to add more content is thinking about it in terms of the way most small business owners initially view a website and the mistake they make, and a better way of thinking about the website. So let's step back a little bit and go to basics. Okay. Most small business owners will, and I'm sure there's some people here that are going to resonate with this, you thought, oh, I've got to have a website, I've got to figure out how to do that. You're going to find somebody to do the website for you, and they're going to build the website. You're going to think about, okay, I'm going to describe my company this way, and you're going to put some stuff on there, you're going to get it all built, make it look pretty, and you're done. And that, you know, going back 10 years, that might have worked, but the problem is what you've basically created, and actually there's nothing wrong with that, but you've got to understand what you're doing, which is when you do that, you're creating a brochure for your company on the web. And that can work quite well if your only priority is to be able to send people who already know who you are, who have already contacted you. Maybe you've given them a business card and you're sending them to the website to say, go look at my website. It shows I'm a real business and I have a website. And you can, maybe you list your products on there so they can see what other things you do and why they should work with you. And that's okay. However, if your goal is to be visible on the web and to rank in the competitive environment of the online world, you're going to be competing with a number of other companies in your location, in your city or suburb, and what you want to do is you want to be at the top of that page, magic page 1 in Google. What Google does is it rewards the website that has the most interaction with clients, that's stickiest is the term. So in other words, assuming a client or a searcher finds your website because they've typed in not your company name but a key phrase of the service they're looking for, if they then go on that website and they stay on it and they don't go back to the search engine looking for more, that's a signal to Google that your website has fulfilled the requirement of them as individual searchers. Now, typically the way that's achieved is by having some content on there that causes people to scroll down the page or to click on a link or engages with that user in some way. Now, the most commonly asked question at that point is, yeah, but what if I just want people to call me? And that's okay, because if somebody does a search, finds your website, sees the phone number, and picks up the phone and calls you, they haven't bounced, they haven't left that website immediately, and they haven't gone back to searching, so that's okay. The problem is when you get a website that's very light on content, somebody clicks on it, and it doesn't really do what they want, so they go back, and they continue to search. If that happens, that's a negative indicator to the search engines, and it's true for Google, it's true for Bing, it's true for Yahoo and other search engines. If there is that negative signal, then you're going to get negative points, which is going to push you down in the rankings, compared to another site that does engage with the visitor. So the reason you add content is for two reasons. One is so that Google's algorithm can analyze your site and learn what it's about. Is it about the key phrase that somebody is searching on? And I mean, bear in mind you'll have 50, 100, 200 different key phrases for any given market. So you've got to have lots of different content to cover all those different key phrases if you want to be visible for all those different key phrases. And what you've also got to do is you've got to make the site sticky. In other words, it's got to engage the visitor in some way. Make them want to call immediately or click on something and learn something. And typically the best technique for doing that is to add useful information to the website. So, how much you need to add, how much useful information you need to add, is proportional to the number of keywords that you want to be visible for, and it's proportional to your competitors. So if your competitor has more useful, interesting content on their site than you do, then you need to have a bit more than they do in order to outrank them, and you need to be that much stickier than the competitors. So how many pages isn't really, there's no set number, 10 pages, 50 pages, 200 pages. It's more than your competitor. And the content, but it's no good putting up a bunch of garbage on there. What you've got to do is your content has got to be interesting enough to make the user read it, click on it, learn something from it, or call you. Calling you is okay too. Now, there's lots of techniques for doing that, but the best way to think about how you can add more content to your website is to think about things that your clients typically ask you. So when somebody calls you on the phone, every time you have a conversation with a client and explain something to you, that's your content. So the best thing you could possibly do is record your phone conversations so that you can turn that into a, here's the question, here's the answer. And that's a page or a blog post, depending on whether it's kind of newsy for the blog post or it's core informational and it's a page on your website. One of the best techniques I've seen that works really well for a local business for creating content is to do features on your clients. And that can be, so for example, if you're a specialist builder and you're building something for a client, that story of why did they want that sunroom, or why did they want that wine cellar, or what motivated them, what was interesting, what was the site like before, what was the room like before, pictures of it, how did you go about designing it, was there a sketch, pictures of it, this is what it looked like before, these are the different things we had to do to this area, and now look how beautiful it is, and what does the customer think of it. Pictures, one of the most compelling things you can possibly do, it's akin to a testimonial, is if you build something physical for a client, then have a picture of them proudly standing, I love my wine cellar, or I love my sunroom, or I love my kitchen reorganisation, or basement remodelling, or whatever it is that you've done, or I love my house now, it's got new siding on it. And that picture is much, much better than a picture where it just shows a picture of the house with the changes on it, because it's like a testimonial, you're showing a happy client. And you've got to write up that story of, well, what did you do, how did you do it, what materials did you use, why did you use those materials, what features are built into it, and so on. Now those are great examples of when you're doing when you're delivering a service that's physical. So not all services that people provide are physical. So for example, if you're an attorney and you're doing some kind of legal work for a client, you can do the same thing. You don't have to give away key issues, legal issues, but you've got to obviously get permission from the client, but you can still talk about, here's a business and they wanted to incorporate, what were they thinking of? Were they going to incorporate from day one, or were they thinking about an LLC? What was in their mind? Why were they, what is it they're trying to achieve with their business? You can do a write-up on the whole thing, and now that they're incorporated, this is what their business looks like, isn't it cool? And you've just done your client a favour when you do that type of client write-up, because you're promoting them. You can send them links to their website within that. It doesn't hurt you in any way to send links, but it helps them, so you can provide a service to help your clients. But there's an enormous amount of content. Every single time you get a client buy something from you, or work with you to achieve some end, you've got a story of what were they thinking, how did we arrive at the solution, what does the solution look like. Each one of those stories can be optimized for that service, which is your keyword, and it can be optimized for a specific location, the location of the business that you're if your business is B2B, the location of where that business is. So you're then optimized for the keyword and their location. And if you've got 50 clients and they're all in different locations in different parts of the city or in different cities around you, perfect, that will increase your visibility hugely. Same thing if you've got a physical product. The location and the service, keyword location, because 1 in 5 searches now on the web have local intent, meaning they'll put some kind of qualifier to say, I'm looking for somebody locally to me to provide this service. Most organisations aren't going to do or most people, if they're looking for an attorney, for example, aren't going to do a national search. If they're in California, they're not going to want to look for an attorney in New York, so they're going to look for an attorney in California or in the city that they're in, and so on. If they're looking for a local builder, that's what they're looking to do. So each one of your clients, so there's almost an endless amount, because every client that you get, I'm sure you'll agree, when you have a conversation with them, is unique. They're going to ask similar questions, but you can redo the question, phrasing it slightly differently, and the answer and the conversation that you have with the client on each one. The trick is to track it. The trick is to have some kind of mechanism for, as part of your regular business process for interacting with clients, so that you keep track of all these different conversations. But I guarantee you, if you do a page for each client, you'll have hundreds of pages over time, and you'll have huge deep content that will be very interesting to somebody else. Because whatever the question is, whatever the solution is that that particular client wanted, it's going to resonate with somebody out there. So you have a list of all these different types of services that you provide, but they're from the client point of view. And that's in addition to the core pages that you create that, at a high level describe what your service is. So it's not only is it adding more content, but it's making it real, because you're talking about different clients and different solutions. So that's by far one of the best techniques I've seen and we've implemented for increasing the amount of content, highly interesting content, content that engages with clients, and content that enables us to optimize and help our clients be much, much more visible in the search engines for tons of different key phrases in their local market.